We will now turn to another type of price controls, price floors. So price floor is a legal minimum price that can be charged, that can be paid. So the market price cannot go below that. So when the government imposes a price floor, two outcomes are possible. If the price floor is not binding, if the price floor is set below the equilibrium price, then it's not binding. If the price floor is set above the equilibrium price, then it is binding. So it's probably easier if we look at a diagram. Okay. So this is the equilibrium. So once again, in a classroom setting, we assume that the equilibrium price is the market price, the equilibrium quantity is the market quantity, unless we are otherwise told. Okay? So you can see that in this case, okay, the policymaker wants to impose a price floor. So maybe they think the ice cream cone, the price of the ice cream cone is too low currently. So it's not fair to the seller. Okay, so in order to protect the seller, the government imposes a price floor. But unfortunately, the price floor is imposed at a level that is below the equilibrium price. Okay, so that means this is a non-binding or ineffective price floor. Okay, so because nobody wants to go below $3 anyway. Okay, so the market settles at $3. So nobody's going to go at $2 anyway. So this policy is not binding. It's not doing anything. It's not serving its purpose. On the other hand, so if the price floor is set above the equilibrium, then it becomes binding. Okay? Binding. So in this case, you can see that sellers are happy, obviously, with a higher price. So we have a larger quantity supplied than before. Okay? And buyers, on the other hand, are not so happy. So we have some buyers withdrawing from the market. Okay? So the quantity demanded is here, okay, instead of here. Okay? So what we have here is the quantity supplied greater than quantity demanded. And we have what we call a surplus, okay, or excess supply. Okay? So a binding price floor causes a surplus. So too much being supplied to the market. Some examples of price floors include minimum wage or agricultural price support or agricultural products price fixing. So we're going to look at one example, minimum wage. So it is a price floor, okay, because the government decides that no employer should pay less than what is set as the minimum wage. So that's a price floor. Nobody can go below that. Right? So the reason that we have a minimum wage, obviously, is because policymakers think that it is not fair, okay, for the employers to pay the labor, pay the workers less than the minimum wage. So in this case, we're looking at the market of labor. This is a slightly more complicated or slightly different analysis than we are used to because we're not looking at the market of goods and services anymore. Instead, the product here is actually the labor. And the price of the product is the price of labor, which is wage. Okay? So the labor supply, the labor demand is actually employers, or very often firms. So this is slightly different from what we're used to because we're used to be thinking firms are sellers, but in this case, firms are actually buyers of labor. Okay, so labor supplied, household members, workers are the ones who supplied labor. Okay, so in this case, as usual, we have the equilibrium price, the equilibrium quantity. So that's the equilibrium wage, that's the equilibrium employment. Okay? So if a minimum wage is imposed, so this is a binding minimum wage because it is set above the equilibrium price. Okay, so what you can see here, the quantity supplied is greater than the quantity demanded, which is quite intuitive. At a higher wage, obviously, workers are more than happy to work more, so we have more quantity supplied than before. Okay? But at a higher wage, some employers are not happy, some buyers of labor are not happy, so they withdraw from the market. So the quantity demanded decreases. So employers may just, substitute workers with machines or outsource some of the jobs to overseas companies, to people in to offshore. Okay, so that leads to a surplus of labor, which in our economic terms is unemployment. So you can see that there is some shortcoming with a minimum wage that we have to contemplate to see, whether the the consequence, such as unemployment, is going to outweigh the benefit of the minimum wage or the other way around. Okay.